Top of Mind Florida with you again, Brian Crowley. I'm Michael Williams. Always good to be with you, my friend.
Hi there, Michael.
And we have Victoria Doyle, Democratic challenger to Lois Frankel in Congressional District, as we speak right now, 22, but with a new redistricting map in Florida, very possibly Congressional District 23, if court challenges.
Or they'll move it to the Bahamas.
How do you feel about that? Yeah, she said, I prepared for everything but moving to the Bahamas. Thank you for being with us. Seriously, the redistricting fight, probably...
Fight?
Fight? Oh, well, the court fight to come.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
What?
Yeah, well, there's a big fight in the legislature.
Yeah. No, it's big. It's going to be a big fight in the courts. The legislature, it's GOP dominates. There wasn't much of a fight there. Talk a little bit, introduce yourself, Victoria Doyle, former, now retired lawyer. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. I'm Victoria Doyle. I grew up in New York City. I'm the mother of one daughter, 4 dogs, and...
Only 4?
Only 4 this week. Discovered Lake Worth Beach in about 2011, bought a house in 2015. Moved here full-time when my daughter went to college in 2021. I would describe myself, in addition to being a federal attorney, intellectual property for 30 years at big firms, a political activist, and chose to run this year after watching Kamala Harris lose the election, Donald Trump win the election, Doge run roughshod over our government, and the Democrats in Congress do seemingly nothing.
Brian?
What would you do about it?
Well, I would like to see the Democratic Party be a more robust, effective opposition party. I think they've failed to do that, and a lot of us are very frustrated with them.
Are you a progressive Democrat, as you have been described? Do you agree with that label?
I try not to use labels because, in my opinion, the things that we need right now are nonpartisan. We need universal health care. That is a foundational need of all Americans. If some call it progressive and some call it other things, that's fine. I call it an American need that we have to address.
What's wrong with Lois Frankel?
With all due respect to her 40 years in politics, the people of this district want change. I have knocked on thousands of doors, and the resounding message I hear is, we love Lois, we thank Lois, it's time for change.
So is this just a generational thing, or do you think she's a failure?
Neither. I think generational change is important, but I wouldn't rule anybody out based on their age alone. It really comes down to effectiveness. I don't think Lois has been that effective in Congress in her 14 years, or frankly, robust. She's passed exactly 5 laws in almost 14 years, and 4 of them were commemorative, statues and plaques. That has not done a lot for the people of Palm Beach County.
So what's your platform?
My platform is too many people are finding life too hard and too expensive to live comfortably and securely. We're in an economic disaster. We've watched the middle class be decimated. We've watched the super rich amass incredible amounts of money and power because of money in politics, while everyone else is struggling. I met a woman in Pleasant City, West Palm Beach. I was doing voter registration. Her name is Arlene. She's a full-time manager at Walmart. She works full-time, had the badge on, manager. Hello, Arlene, how's your life? I get SNAP benefits to feed my family. This was during the government shutdown when SNAP benefits had been stopped. That broke my heart. This is a full-time worker who can't feed her family and needs a federal bailout. So, my platform, we need structural economic changes. Very hard to make with money in politics. Special interests have basically bought the majority of Congress, and they simply cannot, because they're beholden to these funders, make these structural changes. Universal health care, a more fair tax system, and absolutely a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United as our democracy goes down the drain with this political money.
Universal health care, let's start there. How do we pay for it? We're already coming up on $30+ trillion in debt. Democrats have done their share to run up that gigantic national debt. So when you talk about structural change, in plain English, universal health care, how are you going to pay for it?
We can afford universal health care. We already spend, public and private combined, $5 trillion on healthcare every year, with the worst outcomes among our peer countries. Studies show that universal healthcare, that's single payer, nonprofit, that's the essential part, nonprofit, in contrast to our current for-profit, greed-driven system, would save our country about $600 billion. So right there we have a savings by adopting a new system. Moreover, the national debt, what caused that most recently? Cutting taxes on the richest and biggest corporations. That has to change. All the loopholes in our tax code benefit the super rich and nobody else. That has to change. We know we can reconfigure our financial priorities, have more money for essential social services, and still afford a robust Defense Department and all the other essentials that we have to pay for.
Universal health care. How do you get there?
I am going to have to rely on my better informed allies in Congress when I get there to answer that fulsomely. But my understanding is it can be done. Our peer countries have it. There are many models out there. And of course, many people in Congress, including the Progressive Caucus and its members, have done a lot of work on this.
But the odds are you would require some Republicans to go along.
Definitely.
So that gets me back to my question. I'm not talking about universal health care as such. I'm talking about how do you get there?
I understand. Thanks. Universal health care is an American need, not Republican or Democrat. I am sad to see so many Republicans in Congress flat out ignore the needs of their constituents in service to Donald Trump's agenda, which of course favors the for-profit, greed-driven business people in our country and billionaires. So we need to have frank conversations with our Republican colleagues, and I look forward to those, about what do our people need and what are we not providing? What is the purpose of government? Let's get philosophical. What is the purpose of government? Is it to make the rich richer and to leave so many living paycheck to paycheck? 65% of Americans paycheck to paycheck. That's financial insecurity. Many of them are in medical debt. It's a need. We need to convince the American public that we can meet this need, and we need to convince our Republican allies that this is an essential step we have to take to lift the majority of Americans out of stress, anxiety, and debt.
But people, I could imagine there are at least some of the audience watching said this is standard Democratic challenger fare. We've been having this debate forever, and we never hear either side get specific about what you're going to cut, what taxes you're going to raise. Virtually every entitlement debate forgets the part about needing to raise taxes significantly, and not just on the rich, who already pay, the top 10% of earners in this country pay 72% of federal income taxes, according to the most recent numbers. So again, where's the money come from? And nobody ends up wanting to talk about the fact that all Americans are going to have to pay more taxes to perhaps achieve what you're talking about.
What are they?
Do you accede to that? Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. Who's going to pay more taxes? What are Americans paying right now in insurance premiums, in deductibles, in the cost of drugs? So, do you want to pay a for-profit insurance company whose CEO makes $400 million a year? Or do you want to pay a little more in taxes that provides free health care? I choose the latter. I'm tired of this billionaire class profiting off of our health care needs. It's an area that should not be for-profit. It may sound radical because we're so dug in to our for-profit system and healthcare CEOs making hundreds of millions a year and denying claims right and left and people struggling. It just seems to be the normal that we accept. Unacceptable. We need to change that. So let's start with the Department of Defense. It has never been audited. Why is that acceptable? We spend billions. I think we're about to hit $1 trillion under Trump's plan on defense. Now, war. Nobody asked that question when we went to war in Iran. $25 billion so far. So other politicians before me have asked this question. Why are we always asked how we're going to afford basic human needs and never asked how we're going to afford $3.8 billion to Israel every year? $1 trillion on the Department of Defense, $25 billion on a war in Iran. We can do this by reconfiguring our priorities, by ending tax loopholes so that those benefiting and paying almost nothing, and we see it all the time. So-and-so paid nothing in income taxes this year. They have figured out how to do it. They don't earn an income. They live off their capital. It's very clever, but it's not helping their country that has given them so much to enable them to achieve so much. That has to change. So we can afford this. We are not a scarcity economy. We are an abundance economy.
Again, I think some will argue that the argument is one that's been heard again and again. And to Brian's point, and also as a freshman Democrat, the odds of you being able to be in the vanguard of leading that effort, Bernie Sanders hasn't been able to do it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hasn't been able to do it. And the numbers, most studies say, simply do not add up, that you can tax billionaires a lot more, but that every American is going to have to pay more in taxes. And in fact, you talk about scrapping the cap on talking about another piece. Let's switch gears.
Sure.
Scrapping the cap on Social Security payroll taxes. Another entitlement that is going broke, as is Medicare, and you want to scrap the cap. Now, that will affect the wealthy, but it'll also affect people who may consider that what they make every year, it doesn't put them in the wealthy category. You want to scrap that, scrap the cap on payroll taxes.
Yeah, and shame on Congress for letting Social Security become so financially insecure. Michael, I am not going to be day one leader on universal health care. I am going to find my allies, those who have been fighting for this for years, join them, and work to build a bigger, louder, more effective coalition. It's all we can do. We need to convince the American people that this will help them. Convince the American people that paying a little more in taxes will serve their interests, in contrast to paying more to these outrageously profitable healthcare companies. Everybody,
How do
sorry,
you convince them of that?
how do you convince
If you
them?
already have people that are using Florida as our example, you'd be representing Florida. They can't afford their property insurance. They can't afford their property taxes, they say. They're not making a lot of money, and you want to tax them more for health. How do you convince someone who's already struggling that they should pay more taxes?
I'm not looking at it in a vacuum. I'm looking at structural economic change that will involve many changes. So we're going to work on higher wages. We're going to work on fortified unions, bargaining with those big profitable companies. We may have to break up some monopolies. We know that that's causing tremendous financial harm across our economy. So universal health care is essential, but so are other things to make the whole priority system of our federal spending make more sense and help more people.
What would you raise the minimum wage to?
Well, in my ideal world, $25. It's probably where it is in the free market system in many places. But again, I need to get there and find allies, work with that coalition that's working on that and see what we can get done. I think the market has outpaced the minimum wage so greatly. It's almost a joke, not everywhere. In some very low income, downtrodden places, I'm sure the $7.25 is still paid horrifically. But I think the market has already lifted the minimum wage on its own, and it would help the poorest of the poor to codify that.
And certainly many will applaud that, and many small businesses say, you're not considering that we're not going to be able to hire as many people, and oh, by the way, we'll just go get AI to do that job, and there'll be even less jobs. What do you say to that?
You know, AI is not going to be a plumber, a roofer, a server at a restaurant. So AI is a daunting prospect, and nobody knows where and how it's going to affect the economy. But I don't think it's going to render as many people useless in our economy as fearmongers are saying. Small businesses do struggle here, and I've witnessed myself locally city governments frankly abusing small businesses over this and that regulation and requirement, and it hurts my soul. No small business can keep up with Walmart and the parking requirements and the painting requirements and the signage requirements. We should be helping small businesses out and not putting them through the ringer on some of this smaller stuff. Yes, there will always be a tension between paying workers and profit, maybe in the case of small businesses, survival. But federal, state, and local governments can help take the edge off small business financial struggle, and should, because they are the backbone of our economy, and we love small businesses. So that can be worked out.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
I, as I mentioned, was raised in New York City. I have 3 sisters. My father had 4 daughters and a wife and a female dog.
He has my deepest sympathy.
He was a devoted fly fisherman, and as often as he could, he said, I'll be on the river, talking to no one.
I'm not telling you what bend I'll be on.
Precisely. And there were no cell phones. They were very pro-education. They founded a Montessori school on the Upper West Side of Manhattan because there wasn't one. And in those days, the Upper West Side of Manhattan was the hinterlands. It was the affordable neighborhood for families that didn't make as much money. So I went to school on the Upper East Side and took the public bus by myself from first grade on, because in those days, that's what you did with your sisters. And I got an excellent education. I went to college in Vermont because I was tired of urban life, and I love being outside in nature, hence my love of Florida. And then then I was a journalist for 2 years, which was so fun, looking at your room of journalists in the open pit. I did that for 2 years and worked harder than I've probably ever worked for as little money as I probably ever earned, and I absolutely loved it. And when I went to law school, I went to Brooklyn Law School, I wanted to be Linda Greenhouse. She was the Supreme Court reporter for the New York Times. And yet, after doing very well my first year, I got a corporate law job that paid me so much money, I thought, I'll give this a chance, having never made money. And I remember going home, and my mother, who worked in the nonprofit education/child advocacy field her whole life, you're making more money as a summer associate than I've ever made, which kind of broke my heart, speaking of income inequality. So I then stayed at the law firm, discovered intellectual property, loved it. I'm a trademark specialist, which are brand names, protecting them, suing over them. There's a creative aspect that I found very enjoyable, and marketing aspect. And had a daughter. And then I lived in New York City with a child, and guess what? That's expensive. So I stayed in corporate law for longer than my heart was in it.
I'm impressed talking to you. You very much have been part of the capitalist churn and burn.
Indeed.
And everything that makes the capitalist system run. You have a schism in the Democratic Party that you would like to be part of in Congress that is clearly progressive. And in fact, you have been described, though you shun the label now, as a progressive Democrat. You have socialist part of that party, and you have those who are more centrist. So again, which part of the party do you identify? You've come from a capitalist background, intellectual law, but do you subscribe more to the Bernie Sanders, Cortez Mondani, the mayor of New York, political philosophy?
I'm a capitalist. Let's start with that. I think it brings out the best in human nature, competition and hard work. But greed is infinite. My father taught me this. He was an investment banker. And the only check and balance on greed is taxes. So we need to find a better balance in America of profit and taxation.
We're about 2/3 of the way through the conversation. Back to something Brian asked earlier. I'm still not sure. To beat an incumbent, you have to really move the needle. So specifically, why are you a better choice than Lois Frankel, longtime Congresswoman, West Palm Beach mayor? That people, when they go into a booth, have to have a reason to say that's a better choice. And you've danced around it a little bit, frankly. Yeah. Why are you a better choice than Lois Frankel to be in Congress?
2026 is a change election. The American people are deeply frustrated and disappointed with Congress. If you vote for more of the same, Lois Frankel, we're going to get more of the same. The status quo is failing us. I don't know how else to say it. Look where we are. the most extreme income inequality in the history of our country. A war nobody wanted, higher gas prices, further hurting people, from the president who said he would cut all costs and not go to war. What have the Democrats done? Not as much as they could do, in my opinion. Lois Frankel takes gobs of money from special interests, big sugar, big pharma, the defense industry, AIPAC, billionaires, and is not part of an effective oppositional force in Congress, nor part of an effective push for a more progressive agenda that we need. I don't shun the term progressive. I'm simply saying that labels function as dismissive forces, okay? America needs health care. Do you want to call that progressive? That is fine. It would be progress to make Americans able to afford health care and not be so stressed out and in debt.
So to simplify it, Lois, you think Congresswoman Lois Frankel is a failure?
That's too strong. I think she's been largely ineffective. She's been a reliable Democratic vote. That's good. She's missed too many votes. That's not good. Almost twice as many as the average congressperson. And I find her almost passive, as if she is rolling through this job without an intensity and passion that these times call for. What I hear on the trail is, we need higher energy. We need fire. We need a fighter. Where is the Democratic caucus of Congress? Why aren't they on the steps of the Capitol every Friday night telling us, this is what the Repubs did this week, this is what we're going to do, and this is what you can do? That would be so motivating.
Why do you think that Florida Republicans have so overwhelmingly increased their voter registration? In my many decades of following Florida politics, Democrats were usually way ahead. Now, in the last few years, Republican voter registration is about 1.4 million higher than Democrats. What happened?
The Democratic Party in Florida dropped the ball on voter registration. DeSantis's, more recently, law making it more difficult to do voter registration caused a lot of fear, I'm told, and they all but stopped doing voter registration. That was a mistake. Donald Trump became the president not once but twice and has a circle of devotees. Many have moved down to be part of that circle. That's added to the mix. And the governor has spoken lofty language about freedom, which I find completely false, but apparently has appealed to people. It's also my understanding that a lot of people have left Florida. It's not just been an infusion of millions of new people. People have left Florida because they're disgusted with Ron DeSantis's policies. So it's a multi-pronged answer, Brian. The Dems dropped the voter registration ball. DeSantis and Trump marketed the state as freedom-based, despite losing abortion health care, despite targeting vulnerable minorities like gay and trans people and making them the source of all our problems, despite suppressing what we can teach in our public schools, which has been harmful to gay and Black communities. And I was going to say something else, but it left my brain. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Brian. That happen all the time.
But elections suggest that in Florida and other states suggest that voters are okay with all that. Why?
Florida is 41% Democrat. So I really think that's an overstatement. Gerrymandering has caused the state to look a lot more red than it is. We are 41% of the state's voters, and we have, under the new map, 14% representation in Congress. Is that fair? Is that democratic? I don't think so.
What have Democrats been doing about it?
They need to do more. That's partly why I'm running. Lois Frankel has a bully pulpit she doesn't use. I have spoken out at the county commission meeting and various city meetings on various issues that may or may not have a federal side. She's never there. Radio silence. The Southland rock mine, Big Sugar's blasting project in the Everglades agricultural area. Radio silence. Commission approved it. Radio silence.
What do you think about the data centers?
I'm totally against Project Tango. I think it's an outrage to put something so close to a huge residential development, Arden.
Yeah,
And a brand new, gorgeous role model elementary school, 1,000 feet away. I've spoken out at every opportunity before the commission, at press conferences, and when Mayor Sarah Baxter held an informational meeting, which was the most wild turnout of angry activists, residents I have ever witnessed.
What about those argue if we don't win the AI high ground, China will?
Does winning the AI high ground mean building a data center next to Arden? I don't think so.
Do you support data centers in general?
If we need them. I have yet to see where the need is. It's so weird. What is the demand for AI versus the need for AI data centers? We already have a lot of AI data centers. Virginia's been overrun. So I do support them if we need them to the extent we need AI.
Let's turn to foreign policy in our remaining time. Foreign policy, specifically Israel. You've drawn some sharp differences with Lois Frankel. Specifically, what are they?
I support Israel, and I support the people of Israel, and I support the moral reasons the United States chose to support and financially help Israel. Netanyahu has been a disaster for Israel. What he did in Gaza, what he is doing in South Lebanon, and his convincing of Donald Trump to go to war in Iran have turned public opinion against Netanyahu. I feel our Congress needs to respond to the feelings of the majority of Americans, which now reject Prime Minister Netanyahu. And yet, because AIPAC pours so much money in our elections, and because the Democratic Party seems so frightened to criticize either Netanyahu or AIPAC, which supports Netanyahu unconditionally, people are very angry. And it's being manifested in very ugly ways. And I'm sad and hurt to see that, and it's Netanyahu's fault that that's happening. So I think we should suspend foreign aid to Israel right now. We need the money at home. Let Israel sort out its political situation, find a better leader, and then we reconfigure. But right now, we need to cease sending them bombs and foreign aid money because of what they are doing militarily.
You talked about invoking the Leahy Law, forbidding the U.S. from sending money to or weapons to any foreign military if there's credible evidence that they've committed a gross human right violation or violations. You believe Israel's guilty of that?
Yes, I do. And I love Patrick Leahy, Vermont senator.
There will be those who will agree. We've all seen the numbers, but in this district, there will also be many, CD 22 or 23, whatever it shakes out to be, who will say that Lois Frankel's unconditional support has been one of the foundational aspects of why they've supported her.
Indeed, I think
Tough stance.
It is, and I think it has been, and I understand that, but I think opinion has shifted. I have many Jewish supporters who feel as I do. We love Israel. We stand with the people of Israel who want Netanyahu, out, and we are heartbroken by what's happened, and we have got to change our policy. Lois is the ranking minority leader of the subcommittee on foreign aid. It's a subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee. Her focus has been getting money to Israel. That may have made sense at one time. Right now, it does not. Public opinion has shifted, and Netanyahu is a war criminal. We have to face that hard fact.
What about those who argue that when you see what's going on with Iran, nuclear ambitions, when you see what it's done to the people of its own country over many years, that we're quick to decry Israel, not so quick that where were the voices for decades about what's going on inside places like Iran, about the threat it poses to the wider region, about the instability it's caused there, that people, including critics like you, fast to criticize Israel, not so fast when it comes to what's gone on, that supporters of Israel argue give credence to their military posture and what they've done. And it's a fearsome debate on both sides.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And it's a sensitive and controversial topic. And I am highly sensitive to both sides. How many countries on earth hurt their own people? A lot, including our own. We saw ICE kill 2 political protesters in Minneapolis, okay? Are we the world's police person when it comes to killing and abusing your own people? No, we are not. Iran has been a horrible regime, as have many others around the globe. this alleged emergency about a nuclear bomb, how real is that? Iran's been under the Ayatollah for 40 years, but that 1 week it suddenly became a national emergency that threatened America? I find that hard to believe. After we bombed them in July or June, and Donald Trump said, we've decimated their nuclear capability. Which one is it, Mr. President? So there is a lot of dramatic talk surrounding the threat that Iran poses. I can't know the facts, because as far as I can tell, everybody lies. Netanyahu is a pathological liar, as is Donald Trump. And they're both corrupt and probably avoiding prison. Separate subject. No, we do not want Iran to have nuclear bomb capability, of course. But we need, as a country and a Congress, to know the actual facts as best we can. He seems to have decimated the intelligence in our government, so I have even less faith in what they tell us about the actual threat Iran causes. Israel has many threats. We have given them, I believe, $350 billion to help them manage those threats, and that has been righteous for many, many years. But when you have a prime minister who is now, in some ways, gone rogue, looking at what's happening in the West Bank, it is wrong. It is morally wrong. And there doesn't seem to be any adult in the room willing to say, come to the table. We have got to do better here for both sides, for all sides, for the whole region. So I really hope our next Democratic president will take that on, and we're not in these wars and maelstroms of misinformation.
We named it Top of Mind Florida because we would consistently see people always say, gosh, there was one more thing top of mind I forgot to bring up. This is your chance. For our Top of Mind Florida audience, what's that one more top of mind Florida thing that you're saying, rats, I wish I'd brought that up. What is it?
People of Florida, special interests are running roughshod over our government. We have a chance with a new Congress and in 28 a new president to overturn Citizens United and bring back to reasonableness and the ground our elections. Let them not be bought by billionaires. In 1971, we passed a constitutional amendment to lower the voting age to 18 in 100 days. President Nixon was president. Congress passed it, 2/3 of the states ratified, and we got it done. We can do that in 100 days in the next Congress, or if Trump vetoes it, in 2028 when we elect a brilliant Democrat.
Okay, the final question.
There you go.
This may be the toughest question you get.
Uh-oh.
You already know what it is. Go ahead.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe I don't.
Okay.
Surprise us,
All
all
right.
I
right?
don't.
Which are you most interested in? Pickleball or tennis?
Tennis. Pickleball is weird and loud.
A little weird is good, as our sign says.
Weird is good, but I love tennis. Coco Gauff from Delray, baby.
I think we'll leave it on that note. That was good. I thought we were going Samsung or something else, but I love that note. Victoria Doyle running against Lois Frankel in Congressional District 22. With redistricting, it very likely will transition to 23. You're going to have to redo all your campaign little cards and everything else.
Outrageous. I want some money from DeSantis to help me pay for it.
We appreciate you introducing yourself to our audience. The August primary will be here before we know it. We'll look forward to having you back. And thanks for giving our audience, Top of Mind Florida, an introduction. Final word and final thoughts, sir.
Well, again, thank you for being here, and thank you for everybody who's either watching or listening to Top of Mind Florida. And if you're not subscribing, by golly, you should.